Today on the marketplace, GOIL announces its suspension from the Association of Oil Marketing Companies. We'll be speaking with an analyst on this developing story. Also, the National Coordination Office sets strategies to help businesses fully benefit from the Continental Free Trade Agreement area. In the bulletin as well, we'll be bringing you a feature on how Value University made as much as 700,000 cedis a month in bread production despite the impact of COVID. We have more on these coming up shortly. Do stay with us. Hello and welcome. I'm Charles Aite. To our first developing story, oil marketing firm GOIL has announced its suspension from the Association of Oil Marketing Companies. Now, this was contained in a letter by the association cited by Joy Business. George Yaffe has the rest of the story.
GOIL, in the letter to the Association of Oil Marketing Companies, noted that it has taken this action because of how it has been treated. It also describes the action as gross disrespect to the company and subjecting it to public ridicule because of allegations that it has been directed by government to reduce prices at the pumps. The oil marketing firm in the said letter noted that it finds the action of the association as interesting, especially when it has called a board meeting to discuss the issue, but rather decided to issue this letter and leak it to the public. According to GOIL, it's also surprised by the stance of the association that has now found its voice and the audacity to allege that the government directed it to reduce prices. This because the association is also aware of activities of some oil marketing firms that enabled them to undercut GOIL, but has kept quiet about it and go ahead to take actions that denigrate the board and management of GOIL. According to GOIL, the Association of Oil Marketing Companies should be reminded that its prime motive is not for profit making, but also have in mind its corporate social responsibility to Ghanaians that are holding about 78% in the company through government, board, and Senate. It noted that as an independent company, it can anytime take actions in the interest of its shareholders and consumers. It is not clear for now what will be the response of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies going forward, following this move by GOIL.
Well, so what does this mean to the downstream petroleum industry? Joining us now on phone is Nana Mwasi the 7th, Executive Director of the Institute of Energy Security. Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to the program. Of course, GOIL is a major player in the downstream petroleum industry. Will its absence from the association have any impact whatsoever in the industry? I'm afraid we're having challenges with the phone lines. We shall try and raise him back to get his understanding on this developing story where GOIL has chickened out of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies amidst, claims that it was forced by government to reduce fuel prices by some 15 pesos. You heard in the statement there, in that report there by George Yaffe, that the oil marketing company says it feels insulted over this particular perception that's been hovering around the company. We shall try and raise, the research personnel to help us understand the impact of this in the downstream petroleum industry. But moving away, as part of measures to ensure that Ghanaian businesses benefit from the Continental Free Trade Area, the National Coordination Office is enhancing its strategic communication and awareness for SMEs in the economy. Now, the move is intended to speed up the process for more companies to understand the trade deal and participate effectively in this single pact. Head of Strategic Communication at the National Coordination Office of the AFTA, Catherine Afeku, has been explaining to Joy Business some of the expectations in the strategy. She spoke exclusively to Joy Business after taking the new office.
There's a lot to learn. It's a learning curve. There's a lot of information to be disseminated, but I would say it's also an opportunity and hope for young SMEs, big companies, small companies alike to see AFTA as a new level, a new horizon in trade amongst ourselves as a people. There are more business in Ghana who trade outside of Africa than within Africa, and rightfully so, because of these non-tariff barriers, real impediment of logistics, transport, moving from country A to country B. It's even easier to fly goods to, let's say, the European continent than to a sister country in Africa. But that is why AfTA has been set up. That is why we have to work together to remove these artificial impediments. And you'll be amazed if you have to ship things from Kenya to Ghana or from Ghana to Kenya, and it will take you less than 5 or 6 hours. The benefit of feeding or clothing or sharing a product locally manufactured within the continent to 1.2 billion, I think it's more exciting than sending it to a different continent. But it will take time. That is why NCO is set up, to encourage people, to really give them that feeling of you can't give up yet. It's baby steps. Remember, it's January 2021 that it started, and a journey of 1,000 miles definitely will start with one step. I've just been brought on board to help with the communications. We have Dr. Farid Arthur, who's the head of the
proper. We're grateful that you could join us. GOIL is a major player in the downstream petroleum industry. Will its absence from the association have any...
It does show that it's a key player within the downstream sector. If you put it together, GOIL, Total, Shell, Puma,
I'm afraid we're losing Nanamoyo. We'll try and raise him back on the phone, to help us understand his submissions proper. But in the meantime, the Association of Rural Banks has renewed its calls and appeals to GAP 5% since 2016, which means a quarter of their profits go to the state, a situation that keeps affecting the operations. Now, leadership of the association says the hike in the rate has hampered the development role of the RCBs, especially in its corporate social investment. The executive director, Comfort also wants the tax reduced to 15% to alleviate the pressure on its members and in the wake of the decline in share capital. Prince Apia has more in this report.
The annual Rural Banking Week celebrations of the Association of Rural Bank Ghana attract leadership of the industry across the country to one spot to discuss and deliberate over issues affecting the rural and community banks. The 8th National Rural Banking Week celebrations this year was under the theme The Resilience of the Rural and Community Banks in the COVID-19 pandemic era. One of the issues discussed, among others, was the corporate tax rate. It had been increased from 8% to 25% since 2016. Leadership observed the hikes in the rate have hampered the development role of the RCBs, especially in its corporate social investment and responsibilities. Comfort Owusu is executive director.
We are still pleading with the government that the corporate tax that was raised from 8% to 25% is still too much on us. Because we live within the community, we have to, discharge our corporate social responsibilities, and we are appealing to the government to come to our aid, by reducing the tax, maybe to about 15% for us, and we'll appreciate that. We know that this government has a hearing here, even though we've been speaking about it from 2016 up to this time. You go the first time, you don't get it. Second time, you don't get it. You don't get tired. You don't have to stop, because you know that definitely it's your father that can provide you that kind of thing.
National President Kwame Owusu Esquire says their woes are compounded by the suspension of dividend payment, which has stalled the increase in stated capital of some of its members.
The local funds of some rural banks and community banks with the funds set regulated institutions like NTAC and SIC Financial Services Limited are adversely affecting operational viability and could easily lead to liquidity issues, which has tendency of loss of public confidence if you are not taking it carefully. The suspension of payment of dividends has stalled the increase in stated capital of some RCBs, and wish to appeal to Bank of Ghana to allow the provision of payment in accordance with the Companies Act and Act 930 to prevail, since internal capital accumulation has been substantial during the suspension period and is creating a whole lot of problems for directors.
Head of the other banking supervision at the Bank of Ghana, Yao Sapong, wants key stakeholders in the rural and community banking industry to form stronger synergies.
We anticipate that rural and community banks will take advantage of emerging digital banking trends in collaboration with ARB Apex Bank to roll out tailored digital products and services with appropriate risk management structures to improve operational efficiency, deepen financial inclusion, and increase customer satisfaction. I would like to ask key stakeholders in the rural banking industry to use their various strengths to build appropriate synergies for the sector. I am referring here to the individual banks and Association of Rural Banks and the ARB Apex Bank.
Meanwhile, Acting Managing Director of ARB Apex Bank, Alex Kwesiewa, believes it is important for this call to be heeded to.
RCBs should continue to strengthen and monitor their business continuity plans to enable us respond appropriately to any associated threats.
Meanwhile, officials of the association say the overall profitability of the rural banking sector was very positive. Prince Apia reporting.
And as we've been reporting in the course of the bulletin, oil marketing company GOIL has, moved out of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies. Nana Mwasi VII is Executive Director of the Institute of Energy Security, and he joins us for more on this story. Of course, as we have been discussing before the trip in the line, we want to have an appreciation of the impact this could have on the downstream petroleum industry.
Well, Charles, as I was saying from the beginning, I was saying that the last time I checked in October 2021, GOIL was controlling almost 19% of the gasoline market and about 16% of the gas oil market. And so it means that GOIL is a major player within the Association of Oil Marketing Companies. For every group, you can be sure that your strength is in your numbers. And so if part of the group is chipped off, it will definitely have an impact on the group's advocacy, on the group's, drive towards ensuring that their interests are met by policymakers and players around the downstream sectors.
But is this the beginning of the end for the deregulation policy, you think?
We don't foresee that. We believe that cool heads will prevail in the long run, and definitely since GOIL is on the board of the association, we believe that they are able, or the association itself will be able to patch these differences and ensure that they stay together. We don't foresee GOIL moving away, as they have said, and of course, it won't be the end of the association.
Of course, we have sensed the anger in the press release that GOIL issued out not long ago, citing the fact that they feel insulted by this perception. The million-dollar question, therefore, is there a way that we could bring GOIL back to the association?
Of course, like I was saying, there are key players in the sector as well that will not watch, sit and watch for GOIL to exit, and I'm sure cool heads will prevail. And so we will use this platform to appeal to GOIL and also appeal to the leadership of the association to get GOIL at the table and patch up their differences so that we will continue having a robust downstream petroleum sector and to the extent that deregulation must not suffer for this mishap that we've seen recently.
Great. Nana Mwasi VII, we're grateful that you could join us, Executive Director at the IES. Now, at the heat of COVID-19, Valley View University made as much as 700,000 cedis each and every month in bread production alone. One of its major enterprise projects, the bread business, has saved the university some financial stress. Joy Business Odilia Ntiamwa and James Eshen visited the only FDA-approved bread factory and reported almost all materials used in the factory are locally sourced. Here's more.
The smell of bread and all the individual ingredients hits you from the very entrance of the Valley View Bread Factory. From honey, banana, and raisins, you begin to salivate immediately. Standards here are high. From workers to visitors, no one comes in with uncovered hair. The only bread factory with FDA approval, and the evidence is here. James and I have come here to find out how a university has survived the COVID depending on this factory. COVID-19 brought untoward hardship on many institutions, and the education sector was actually not left out. But for those who actually had some enterprises, they were able to brace the storm. Why am I here? I'm here today to tell the Valley View story during COVID-19, and indeed, bread sustained them. I'll be giving you the details in a bit.
Also, after going through the process where this bread is being done here, we also be looking at what goes into this process, the standardization process. I have here the quality assurance person who would be taking me through the standardization process here at the Valley View Bread Making Bakery here. So, hello, madam, just run me through. What goes into the quality assurance? What do you do? How do you ensure that at the end of the day, this you get the right ingredients into the bread making process?
Okay, so first of all, we have a standard operating procedure which we follow. We have policies in it which we follow, and with the ingredients, we try to stick with specific customers who we've interacted with and told them what we want as in standards and quality. And so something like the honey, even though we've told them, we still do random checks. We send out the honey to GSA to randomly check and see if it's truly honey and not mixed with sugar before we use it for our production process. Another thing we also do here, aside standardization with clients that we work with, is calibration of all our equipment, from the scales to the thermometers, so that each time we are working on a recipe, it comes out the same and tastes the same. Yeah, and I think that's it.
You have quantity where you go like, okay, there's the number of quantity I'm using for this particular bread.
Yeah, we do. That's where we use the scale. So there's a set recipe which the one measuring the wet ingredients follows every time. So she records every time she weighs the wet ingredients before she brings it over to the dry ingredients section. And then we also confirm other weights like the flour we are supplied with, the sugar and all those things. We confirm their weight. Yeah.
One key thing also has to do with the expiry date of some of these products. I am very sure you go through each product you buy for the bread processing, right?
Yes, we do. We check the expiring dates for each and every product and then record it. So we have a point where we can reject a supply. That is if we see it is externally damaged or the expiring date is too close. Because though we produce a lot, there's a possibility that we may not be able to use it before the time the product is expired. And so when we realize the expiring date is really close, we return it to the company.
Each week, about 6,000 pieces of bread are manufactured and sold. Doctor, so how did this bread factory save the school during the heat of COVID-19?
Thank you very much. You know, as an educational institution, we're mostly relying on tuition. But when COVID-19 came, we needed to have a new strategy. So the direction for the school was to make sure that all our ventures contribute significantly to the university's operation. So during that period, most of the university's vehicles and workers came to work at the bakery.
Really?
Yes. So lecturers who were not working or teaching brought in their marketing ideas. Some workers also joined hands to really go out and distribute the bread. To surprise you that all the workers at our basic school also became factory workers. And it helped us to double our production during that period. And significantly, it was able to sustain the school for almost 9 months.
Wow. Tell me, during that time, how much bread were you selling in a month?
In a month, we were doing almost 7,000 loaves of bread. And every day, that is in a daily production, and every day all of them were sold. So in terms of revenue, we're doing close to 700,000 cedis in a month.
That's a lot of money. And how much of that plugged what amount of hole in terms of revenue that was lost due to COVID?
So from the university side, we realized that almost 80%, because we lost a whole semester. And at the time, we were running only 2 semesters. So a whole semester, once you lost that revenue, we couldn't. So the bakery was the one that came in to fill that loophole. And it was, very significant amount in millions, in tens of millions, I will say that. So the bakery really helped to sustain the operations of the university.
Wow. What other enterprises does the university have apart from the bakery?
So the university also, we have a water factory, which is also supporting us in terms of providing water for sachet and bottle. We have farms in Techiman. So during that period too, some workers went to the farm to work. And it will surprise you, we had almost 1,200 bags of maize during that period. And they were sold also to support the university. We also have a hospital, which is, say, a social enterprise. So during the COVID period, it became a center for our area from Adenta up to Dodowa and Somenya. So a lot of people came here for their vaccination, and where COVID cases were reported, some were also housed here before they were transferred to the various centers. So as a university, this has really helped us. We also see our basic school, though it's also a social enterprise, also as a venture. And they also, through the school fees, commit something to the university. But during the COVID, they were also affected. So the benefit was that the workers there at the basic school came to join the workforce at the bakery to help us in the production.
That's really great. Tell us how many workers you're dealing with now and what sort of structure do you have here?
So at the moment we have close to 60 workers. Almost 80% are factory workers, factory hands. And they run shifts and we produce 24/7. What we really require is more vans to do the distribution. We only have 8 vans doing the distribution, so we cannot cover a lot of places. In front of the university, we have built a small mart where about half of the product produced here are sold. So we think that we want visibility. So anyone who is interested in becoming a distributor for the Valley View product, which is the bread, can also join us.
Thank you very much. We will actually engage the rest of your team along the line, but something really pricked me and sounded exciting for me in relation to the quality systems that you have put here. You actually always boast that you are the only FDA approved bread.
Yes, that is true. You cannot get bread being approved by Food and Drug Board if you don't put your systems in place. So we tried as an institution, Valley View stands for excellence. So whatever we do, we try to be the number one. And that is why we are currently the only product or bread with FDA approval. It has not come by easy way. A lot of effort has gone into this. We also want to thank our quality assurance manager, Mrs. Elesia Deku. She played a very instrumental role in helping us to get to this far. And you'll be surprised, we also have a branch in Kumasi and Techiman. So that is where we have our other campuses. So they are also have a small, their size are not like this, but we hope that we will let them also grow to become like this and be able to serve Kumasi and Techiman with a wholesome bread.
The bread here is produced with honey, while very little sugar is added to
We're looking at what goes into production. I have the production manager here who will be taking me through what really goes into production. We understand we have quite a number of them here, so I'll be speaking to him shortly as he'll be taking me through what goes into the production of this bread here. Hello, kindly just run me through what goes into the production of this bread.
Yes, it's true. We have so many types of bread. We have butter bread, banana bread, corn bread, potato bread, wheat bread, sugar bread, and the others. So if you want us to start from the process, let's go to the milling. Let's go to the mixing. So we start the process from the mixing. So you can walk to the mixing, start from the mixing, then we come back to where we bake the bread.
But before we go to the mixing, run me through from the mixing, where do we go to?
Okay, from the mixing, you take it to the refiner for it to refine. Then you send them to the divider. You put the dough into the divider for it to divide them for you. From divider, you put them into the molder for it to mold it for you. Then you send them into the cans. From the cans, then you put them on the baking trolleys. From trolleys, you push them here, wait to rise to a sizable, expected size. Then you put them into the oven for baking. Yeah.
Now, you are dealing with workers here. How many workers do you have? Do you run shifts, or better still, you have a full 24 hours to work with?
Yeah, we run 2 shifts. We have day shift and a night shift. Day shift, we have 15 numbers, and in the night too, we have 15. Yeah.
So how many hours do they work? What time do they start working?
Oh, till the number they are supposed to produce is over. They'll be working out till daybreak. At times, production do comes. At times, it decreases. So once you give them the order to produce and they are done with production, they leave.
Now, how many bread do you produce within a week or a month?
In a month, we produce about 1,000 plus. At times, 1,200, 1,300, 1,500.
Using bread as a buffer, indeed, the story of Valley View University entered the marketplace with me, Charles Aite. For more news, please log on to myjoyonline.com. Many thanks for watching.